Coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It was another frosty night. The animals were calling. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live. You are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Sunrise Safari here on Safari Live. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig. Now, remember, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now in the middle of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve. And if you'd like to ask us questions, you can hashtag Safari Live. Now, it's not just me out here today. Of course, Byron's going to be in the tent, giving me a helping hand too. And Innocentia is in there with him. So, hopefully we'll have lots and lots of fun today. Now, I've heard many noises last night. I'm just checking around me. But before I even do that, I want to tell Rexon about these tracks. Rex, I've got Mafazi Ingo and Konzo here, Power Lines Road, Vuyatela Access. They come from the west, and then they come along Vuyatela Access, and then they turn back again. But I'm just going to scratch around here. I might go back down the Power Lines Road. Right, let's just quickly give Rex the update. Negative, not just yet. I did do a quick loop through the middle road of quarantine and no Nkonzo for Ngala. So now we've got right, I mean, the very important updates coming through now. Okay, copy. Let me go check there, then I'll do power lines. I'll go check in pilot planes straight away. So, Rexon is obviously a guide from Vuyatela, and there's not many of us driving around, especially if it's just me today. We're going to need all the help we can get. So, firstly, we had female leopard tracks. They've come from the west. They cross through here. They walk along Vuyatela Access, not for very long, and then they turn back again. So I just want to drive the Power Lines Road, and then the very important information that Rexon's just given me, he said that there were wild dogs on Zebra Drive, which is, I think, in Arethusa, if I'm not mistaken, and they might come this way. So we're going to head down towards this western corner, and hopefully we're either going to pick up on a spotted cat or perhaps a painted dog. Wouldn't that be a fantastic way to get the drive going? But I'm going to quickly race down to the western corner, and while I do that, I'm going to send you across to Byron and Innocentia so they can say good morning and let them know. No, never mind, let's just go across to them.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Byron, and on camera with me is Innocentia this morning, and I hope you have all having a great weekend so far, and that you're having a relaxing day on Saturday, if you had a Saturday, and or if your Sunday is starting. Now, we are in the tent, indeed, in James's tent this morning, so we're going to be going through some clips and hopefully chatting about some interesting little things we've seen over the last week or so. And I'll see if we can't find something interesting around here. But I've got a friend that's joined me. I'll have a look at this little guy. There's a little skink. Now, these little lizards or skinks, they often live in the tent. I suppose the tent is a nice place for a skink to be living, safe, and he dropped down from the canvas a little bit earlier, and but he hasn't moved. I'm assuming it's probably because it's still cold, so that's why this little lizard or skink hasn't moved. So nice to have a little visitor in the tent. Now, I've brought a number of books with me, just to in case we need to look for something and look it up. So I've got some books with me, and then, like I said, we can go through some past clips and of interesting things. We've actually been seeing a lot of owls, so we're probably going to bring that up at some point and go through a lot of the little owls that we've been seeing. Scops owl, pearl-spotted owl, and barred owlet. So that should be exciting. And I'm just trying to have a look. It's actually a beautiful morning. It's nice to be in the tent. I've got my coffee flask with me, so I'm going to be nice and cozy with Innocentia. Did you bring some tea or coffee for you this morning? No. Oh dear, that's not good. We'll have to get you some a little bit later, perhaps. Now, some of you may have seen me start the show with this not so little guy. This is a beautiful Warthog tusk, and it's actually quite heavy, this Warthog tusk, but you can see it's been worn down quite a lot over there. So this Warthog tusk would have been used a lot, probably. Warthogs often use these to dig in the sand or mud wallows, especially when they're wallowing around. They like to cover themselves in mud, and it protects their skin and helps cool them down too. So warthogs do often go and lie in mud wallows. But that's you can imagine some serious tusks. If I had another one here, some serious tusks on this warthog. They curve slightly back, but this is not an animal that I would like to get in the way of, because these tusks can cause serious damage. Now we know that the warthogs, what they do too is they're very clever. When they are being hunted, well, not necessarily when they're being hunted, when they go to sleep at night, they sleep in abandoned termite mounds. So they've got these beautiful burrows that they will go into, but they reverse in. So they go in with their backsides first. So they reverse in, and by doing that, they've got these very sharp tusks facing outwards. So if there's any danger from the front, they can use these tusks to defend themselves. Now what happens is the warthog, also, if they pick up on any potential danger around the burrow or the entrance of the burrow, what they will do is they will shoot out of that burrow, and a warthog coming out of a burrow can be a very dangerous thing. These sharp tusks, they can easily break your leg, or if there's a leopard or lion, often it happens so quickly that those predators get startled and they don't have time to react. So, a serious weapon to defend itself, and it's one of the reasons why I like warthog. They're tough, they're tenacious, they're wonderful creatures, and very interesting, and I think quite cute. Now let's head back to Taylor, find out how her leopard tracking is going. I hope she has some luck. If not with leopard, maybe with wild dog.
Wouldn't both of them be great though? Now we are driving around. You won't believe whose footprints I have seen this morning so far, as well as leopard track. Ostrich. Our friend the ostrich is back, and it crossed through the property. There's an African, I don't know if it's going to land. Let's see, there's an African hawk eagle just flying off into the distance. No, it's just ducked into the bushes. I heard the drongo going quite ballistic. It sort of drew my attention, and I saw obviously it was being mobbed and it had enough of that, so off it flew. Now I'm just deciding what we're going to do. I'd also heard reports of a male lion heading from one of the camps in Buffelshoeks towards Sydney's dam, so I think we're actually going to go around. I want to do a quick mini boundary patrol. We've just come off Impala Plains, no wild dog tracks just yet, but now this is the hard part. I can't check everywhere. So I really hope some of the other guides decide to drive on Vuyatilla and not race to any established sightings. There is also, who is walking? Hyenas going up and down the road. So no, this is wild dog. There's a hyena track and wild dog tracks here. Running along the road. I don't know where they go in though. Do they cross into Vuyatilla? I think they might. That's unusual. I didn't see any tracks on Impala Plains Road. There's a car behind us. I need to pull off the road. I don't know what to do, Craig. Dogs are a hard one. Dogs are a very, 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 very difficult animal to try and track because they move so quickly. Now, those tracks don't look very fresh. They actually look like they could have been from very early this morning. I don't know what to do. If we should go and see if we can catch this male lion. Let's stick to our guns. Let's go down this way. And let's quickly see if we can get anything moving in between Sydney's dam and sort of the gate. And then we'll come back around. Wild dogs for me, it's a tough one to try and find. Unless you really bump into them. And now we're on the bumpiest road in the entire world. Unless you bump into them or you are right behind them and you have their tracks, it's virtually impossible to try and track them. They don't stay still for very long unless they've made a kill, and then even with that they can completely devour a carcass very, very, very quickly. So we'll just keep our eyes open over here. There's no leopard tracks this side. There's actually no animals this side, but that wouldn't surprise me if the wild dogs have been through here already. Everything would run for their lives. Now there are so many vehicles already starting their morning. A game vehicle up ahead as well as a normal car. Let's actually see if we can go past them quickly. I'm going to keep going as fast as we can. Just get past all of these vehicles. Oh no, please don't stop for a chat. Unless you're going to tell me where there is a lion or a leopard. I don't want to hear it. Right, okay, we're going to try and figure out what's going on because these wild dog tracks are all over and I've got to pass all these cars. I'm going to send you across to Byron very quickly, who's going to have a chat to you about a nocturnal bird.
Alright, so as I said, while Taylor's rushing around trying to find those wild dogs, I hope she has luck. We didn't have any luck yesterday. There was a different pack, I think. Not the pack that we regularly see on the western side of Djuma of Vuyatela. It was, that pack, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is about 3 or 4 dogs. Whereas the pack that they had yesterday was apparently 9 dogs that were running through Torchwood. So I'm hoping that perhaps Taylor has some luck with those other wild dogs running around. There was some Inyalo chasing each other outside the camp, outside the tent. They've moved off now. 2 males chasing one another because there was a female around. Now we want to go through a little clip. Now, how does this all work, Megan? You see, I'm a game ranger. I'm not technically inclined at all. I don't know how all this works. Megan's going to play a clip. We're going to watch it. It's about the Scops owl, and then we're going to discuss it. So let's have a look.
Look at this, a beautiful Scops owl. Listen to his call. Everyone, listen to this. Look how beautiful that little owl is.
Alright, so that was that little Scops owl that we saw the other day, and I was very excited about that because I have not seen a Scops owl on Safari Live yet. I've seen Scops owls before, but to have one sitting so close to us and calling was really, really wonderful. Now, I was a little frustrated last night because just before the end of the show, Craig and I managed to find a Scops owl, but it was sitting in the tree, and as we looked up, it flew a little bit further into the tree and we couldn't see it again and we couldn't show you. We heard it calling above us, but just could not see it. Tiny little owls. I'm going to show you a little image of the Scops owl, but that was such a nice view of one. Now, these little Scops owls, African Scops owl, even in the book they're small. Look at that. Very, very small little bird that we've got, the Scops owl. I was trying to read a little bit more about those the differences between the barred owlet. There you go, there's that little Scops owl. So I was trying to read more about the barred owlet as well as the those little the pearl-spotted owlet and the Scops owl, and what the difference is. And no, I couldn't find any reason why these owls were called... Sorry, the lizard is moving. I was just checking that it wasn't a snake perhaps joining us in the tent. Not that there should be any snakes that active now. So the term owlet is usually given to a baby owl. Now, I don't know why they have decided to name the barred owlet and the pearl-spotted owlet that particular name. All the others are all owls. So I'm not sure. Baby, you were... was it Debbie? Debbie was wondering that. Debbie, I'm not sure. I don't know where or why they've named it that. I think it's got something to do with the size. But then again, why have they not named the Scops owl, the Scops owlet? Because that's just as small, if not slightly smaller, than the other two. So I don't know. I have no idea. That will have to go to the ornithologists. Anyway, but it was wonderful to hear that little Scops owl. And those little calls can be heard from quite a distance. Now, the Scops owl are predominantly active at night. Some of those other little owls, like the pearl-spotted owl especially, can be active during the day. And you've seen a number of times we find pearl-spotted owls during the day on Safari Live. Now, the thing is with the pearl-spotted owl is they will sit in the tree and call, but they also hunt during the day from time to time. Little rodents and little lizards. Same with the Scops owl though. Scops owl will also feed on little insects, possibly tiny little rodents if they find them at night, but they are more active at night. Now those owls, as I said, that little sound that we heard earlier, that can be heard for quite a distance. And we've got one or two that we hear around camp. We don't often see them, but they are around camp, and it's always wonderful to hear those Scops owls. For me, it is definitely one of the sounds of the bush that just resonates with being in Africa, with being around a fire at night, perhaps, because you do often hear them when you're sitting around a fire. Now, I wonder what owls you enjoy, and please send us your questions and comments, your comments about what owls you enjoy, especially the owls that we see on Safari Live. Which ones do you enjoy the most? Don't forget, hashtag Safari Live via Twitter is how you do that, and we'll read some of your comments and which owls you prefer. I've seen a number of owls on Safari Live. I'm trying to think now. Let's start with some of the bigger ones. We've seen the giant eagle owl, or the Verreaux's eagle owl. We have seen the white-faced Scops owl. I've seen the pearl-spotted owl, the barred owl, as well as the Scops owl. So that's 5. I'm trying to think if I've seen a spotted eagle owl on Safari Live. We do get them in the area, but I haven't seen it on But anyway, so those are some of the owls. We'll stick with the owls for a little bit. We'll chat about them. But let's head back to Taylor and find out how her racing around is going, and hopefully she's got some news for us.
Well, no, not yet, sadly. I think I'm actually going to stop tracking all animals and just drive, because it's going to end up me just following, ghosts, as we normally do first thing in the morning. Now, I heard lions, I heard hyenas, everyone was going crazy. So I think what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go past the gate, because there were reports of male lion coming this way, but unfortunately, it seems as though he already crossed this side. I didn't see his tracks, so I wonder if he didn't cross here at the gate. Rexon says his tracks come straight towards where I was. He was sitting at Sydney's Dam. I'm just checking to say something else about wild dog tracks, but I'm not quite sure. I turned the radio down. Like I said, tracking wild dogs is a nightmare. Now there's 150 vehicles here. Let's see what's going on. Maybe there's an animal coming towards us. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm going to ask quickly what they might just be discussing, trying to find animals too. That's the other thing. Yeah, they are. They're just chatting about trying to figure out where they're going, where they're going to find animals. Let's go up all the way back up for your tele access, and maybe we find that female leopard at the same time. Now, seeing as we've been talking about a variety of different species this morning, we've been talking about from wild dogs to leopards to lions, because those are all the animals that are on the cards, and you can see them out here in this area too if you have just joined us and it's your first time watching Safari Live. Now, a question from Michael: do the smaller packs of wild dogs move more during the day than the larger packs? Well, Michael, I suppose that depends on when they had their last meal. I mean, typically wild dogs will try and catch something every single day, and even if they can, twice a day. So let's put it like this: 1 impala for 3 wild dogs is the perfect meal. They'll have the biggest bellies. They'll probably go and have a sleep after having a big meal like that. However, 1 impala for 10 wild dogs is a particularly small meal. Imagine they have a den somewhere and they've got to go back, the adults got to go back and regurgitate for the youngsters. They'll probably need to eat again. So I would actually say that you might find that in terms of the prey size, that would depend on a larger pack's movement, whereas if it's a smaller pack or so, yes, maybe they do need to run a little bit further because there aren't so many of them to flush the prey out, but they only need to catch something small to give them a decent meal. So it's sort of a yes and a no type of a question. And again, I think it just depends on the day, you know. If it's a nice cool day, they might be a little even more active than what they normally are. If it's an exceptionally hot day, because remember in summer out in these areas, the temperature can get well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit very easily, and nothing wants to move around during that type of weather, so the wild dogs often have siestas, whereas in winter the temperature is much cooler, so they might not need to rest as much. Now I still haven't seen anything else here on Vuyatela Access, and I see Mr. Taxon is on his way here, so I'm just going to check carefully. And I might have a very quick chat with him, so you'll just listen to me talking to Taxon. There's also elephant tracks, but these are from yesterday. I remember seeing them. Hello, Tax. Hello. So I am live. I don't know where those Motlolo and Konzo go up and down everywhere, because apparently they were on Zebra Drive this morning, and I saw the Simambili car and one of the Chitwa vehicles here discussing. But Mavazi Ingwe, did you see her? Yeah. I don't know where. Yeah. I quickly checked Impala Plains Road to Triple M and then raced down Triple M because I thought maybe we were going to catch that male lion, but there's nothing. I didn't see any tracks coming here. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go check Twin Dams, and then I'll keep up to date on the radio. Hi everybody! Right, there we go. So quickly just chatting to Taxon. All his guests, literally, they look like me this morning. They had their blankets up to their chins and under their noses, trying to keep nice and warm. Mine's just on my legs. It is very cold. I don't want to put gloves on either because I feel like gloves limit your movement. So I'll just have to bear with a frostbite today. Just rub them every now and then to keep warm. I think let's move away from this craze. I totally think that we are behind all the animals today, which is fine. This thing happens often. That's a problem. I started hearing female lions. I definitely heard. Oh, hi Impala. You're our first animal for the day. They look just as cold as I am. Now, it is very, very difficult to obviously try and figure out where these animals have gone, especially when you are just relying on the sounds that they made from the night before. Now, I tried to pinpoint where those lions were calling from the female lions to the male lions that were roaring quite early this morning. You may have heard them on the dam cam, but it's a tough one. Hey, I was in my room. I definitely wasn't getting up from my warm duvet cover and to go and figure out where those lions were calling from, because the chances of them actually still being on the property when there's no buffalo around is very, very slim. They're constantly searching for food. Now, the dogs have actually run down Vuyatela Access, so I think maybe they've gone north. Maybe they've gone towards Sydney's dam. The impala don't seem to be too frightened. They look cold, but they don't seem panicked. Now, when wild dogs move through an area, I'm sure that every hair on an impala or any antelope's body stands up, because they are so quick. They are such good hunters. They've got a really good success rate compared to leopards and lions, and even cheetah to that extent. And you don't want to, well, end up in the jaws of a wild dog. It's not necessarily the most pleasant thing to watch, the death of an antelope due to a pack of dogs. Sometimes even for me it's a bit hard to watch, but it's just one of those things. It's very efficient the way that wild dogs do take down their prey. They don't waste any time. They literally just pull it apart. And I suppose that's quite a good way. You know, when lions and leopards suffocate their prey, they are at risk at being hit in the face by a hoof. They could still be stabbed with the horns, you know. So it's a risky business, this, being a predator out here. Now, so Taxon's just come down here. I'm not worried about missing tracks on this road because he's got a tracker, so he would have seen them. I'll see if I can find a nice wild dog track for you, but see, they don't look super fresh. That's what I don't understand, unless it was because maybe they were running and it was in the thick sand. It doesn't look very nice. See, they didn't come from this side, so they must have cut through the bushes. Okay, well, And carry on going down this way. Who else have we got here? Some birds. Morning birds. Should we say hello to you? And go a little bit further. There's some Cape Gossie starlings. Hello, starlings. Don't fly away. Don't be like that. There's another one that might participate just over there. Unlike the ones, the doves and things that keep flying away. Very busy. Also, very puffed up, just like the impala this morning. And I don't really blame them. It is particularly cold. Yeah. Bird chattering, or lots of birds chattering in the distance. Oh, let me keep this volume up just a little bit. It sounds like there's a raptor of some sort sitting somewhere. I can hear a very high pitch shh. And the raptors typically have that high pitch call. I wonder if it's not that African hawk eagle, because it actually flew in this direction. Maybe it's just sitting somewhere. Oh, that was an interesting call. Can we have a look at this bird up here, Craig? On the tree. I don't know what it is. It's a dove of some sort. Maybe it's an African green pigeon. But it was just an interesting noise. It'll just... yeah, I'm just on that lower branch. To the left. There we go. You just see this down and to the left. It's just there. There we go, in the fork. Ooh, we got turtle dove. You were making a strange noise just now. I actually didn't recognize that call that you made. You hear that? Very, very interesting noise. Even its movement is quite erratic. I wonder if it hasn't seen something down on the floor, and that's why it's perhaps panicking a little bit. It doesn't seem to be very relaxed. Oh, there we go. Now it's settled down. Have a little listen to this. Sounds like a turtle dove with a bit of a sore throat. Or perhaps it's still learning. I suppose it does take a bit of time for these birds to learn their songs, just like you and I when you first learn to whistle. Doesn't come out perfectly. It does take a bit of practice. Interesting behavior from that turtle dove, though. It looked very panicked and was making all sorts of interesting sounds. Right, we're going to carry on. I think we're going to go check the south. I think that's going to be the plan now from here. And we'll bob and weave our way down there and see if we can pick up maybe on that leopard or lions. I'm sure we'll check the hyena den a little bit later. But I'm going to send you back across to Byron, who is all cozy and comfortable in his tent. I'm sure he's got coffee or tea in hand, and he is ready to chat about birds.
Well, I am cozy, Taylor. It's nice in the tent here. Actually, the sun's coming through beautifully to our east, to my left. So, not quite, I don't have the coffee out yet, but I'll get it out soon, don't worry. Now, we had a few questions about the tent, and Nancy, you wanted to know, I beg your pardon, what that skink was. It's the African striped skink. That's what it is. Quite a common skink around here. So the African striped skink. We also get rainbow skinks around here. They've got these beautiful blue tails. I'm sure some of you, if you've been out, you might have seen them. They're often on the pathways around lodges. But that was the African striped skink. And then I've got some answers about the owls that I asked you all about, and what some of your favorite owls are, seeing on either Safari Live or in Africa. And Ali, you say an African wood owl. Now, I haven't seen an African wood owl, surprisingly, but they're beautiful. I'll show you a picture of one shortly. Let me try hold that for you. Is that okay? We'll have to blurry safaris. Hold on, let's see if I can find the focus. Come on, Come on, Oh, slowly, almost, not quite. Come on. Oh, All right, don't worry. It's okay. We'll work on it. We'll try and figure it out. Just now. So, as I was saying, the African wood owl, I haven't seen one, but they do. I believe they've got a really nice call. Let's just listen to this. How great is that sound? Come on. Isn't that a wonderful sound? The African wood owl. So, Ali, that's your favorite. Then, Lucy, you say the white-faced owl. Now, let me find that quickly. The white-faced or white-faced Scops owl. Or southern white-faced owl. It used to be a white-faced Scops owl, even though it's much larger than the Scops owl. And I'll try to show you. It's got that little... we'll work on the pictures, though. We'll show you... You got that a little bit there. But listen to this. This is a nice one too. Lovely sound. Isn't that cool? Now, we do hear these often around camp, and we have seen them on Safari Live. Yeah, and at night you hear them quite regularly. A wonderful sound. Love hearing the white-faced owls. Lucy, that was your favorite. And then Faisal, you said the giant eagle owl. Now, I really enjoy the giant eagle owl, or the Verreaux's eagle owl. That's a new name. Now, the Verreaux's eagle owl has got those beautiful pink eyelids. When they close their eyes, bright pink eyelids, but a massive owl. Those owls are very, very large. Now, so let me try play that sound for you. There we go. Very deep, booming sound. Hear that? It's amazing. Now those it's actually funny with this owl, with the Verreaux's eagle owl playing it on here in the background. I can hear there's a Scops owl calling in the background of this recording. So, let's play the Scops owl quickly. It's actually so much fun going through these different calls and playing them. Let's play the Scops owl for you quickly. But you all heard it on that clip earlier. Very, very loud for such a tiny, tiny bird. So that's a Scops owl, and then some of my favorites. Oh, now this, Cindy, you asked, what is the difference between a screech owl and a barn owl in terms of the call? Now, I don't know screech owl at all. I'm assuming it's an owl that you see in North America. I don't know, but I think they're pretty similar, Cindy, judging by the name. And I'll say that because the barn owl, and now let me play this for you, has got a high-pitched screech. Should have done my mouth and voice test this morning, like James always used to do. I think James would go Benedict Cumberbatch. See, I'm trying to be like James now in the tent. All right, but listen to you hear that? That's the barn owl. So I'm assuming it's actually quite an eerie sound. I'm assuming that sounds very, very similar to the screech owl. So we'll play some more of the owl calls a little bit later. Let's head back to Taylor and find out how the search is going this morning.
I'm done searching on tracking animals this morning. We're just going to drive and bump into things. Because I know exactly what's going to happen is we're going to search for animals, and they're going to cross out, and then we're going to have wasted so much time. So we shall just bumble, and then hopefully the animals will bump into us. So I'm going to check some of my favorite roads and areas. So we'll start off with Philemon's Dip. Is always a good one. Sometimes you can get lucky and spot lots of hyenas around here. And then I think from here we're going to go towards Treehouse Dam. We'll have a look there. Then we'll go to Twin Dams, scratch around that area. We might go all the way towards Cheetah Cut Line. So that's sort of going to be our plan. We're going to probably try and drive every single road today. and hopefully we will find some animals on one of them. The other thing is that because it has been so chilly already, now that the sun has come up, a lot of them are moving into the thickets. They're trying to keep nice and warm. Hopefully we'll get some of them just standing out trying to warm themselves with the sun. We know the monkeys and the birds will be right at the tops of the trees. The sun hasn't quite casted all over and sort of warmed up the ground just yet. And as we go into Philemon's Dip, you can definitely, well, I can, you can't, I can feel the temperature dropping, going down to the drainage lines as it normally does. It will pop back up and then continue. But the mornings are often quiet. I don't know when I had a busy morning last on the drive. I think the sunset safaris have been a little bit more exciting than the morning ones. What's happening here? No, we can't traverse any of. They're starting to find male lions and things now too, but sadly not on anywhere that we can drive. Just check in here. We'll go up now. We'll go onto a tree. Philemon's cut line. Right. Check here. Now, as we're searching, and well, I suppose it applies because we are driving on roads, the question from Mason, and that is, do animals feel exposed when walking on the roads? No, I don't think so. I think they actually prefer it. Animals don't like to have to walk through sort of very dense and thick areas, just like we as humans, when we do bushwalks, we don't like to walk through those same areas either, because you can't see what's around the corner. And you can imagine for something like an impala or a kudu, it must be quite daunting going through those very, very dense pockets. So no, I think they quite like it. They also use their own pathways so often that they wear them out and they become like little mini trails, and there's quite a few around here. I'll show you some nice. Oh, giraffe, wonderful. We'll definitely stop and have a look at the giraffe then. Have we just got one? Looks like one just for now. See if I can see any other tall heads. The giraffe is just hiding behind the tree, so camouflaged. There's also lots of elephant tracks around here, but they are not going in the direction that I wanted to go, and like I said, I'm not tracking any animals. We're just going to bump into them. Hello, giraffe. You look very hungry. This is quite cool, actually, because this giraffe has just got its head tucked into the trees, and just from looking at it straight away, it is a female. But there's actually a few other giraffe here too, so hopefully they'll feed in the same direction that this lovely young lass is feeding in, which means straight towards our car. Isn't that cool? I did not think we were going to see giraffe today, so this is a surprise to me. It's quite a pleasant surprise, in fact. It's very nice, and I'm sure that they are also enjoying the warmth. Luckily for the giraffe, they don't need to climb to the tops of the trees to warm themselves up. They're tall enough that normally the first ray of light actually probably pierces that of the giraffe's eyes. Might have to put their sunglasses on first thing in the morning. Now, good morning, Inka. You said that you're very excited to see the giraffe. Well, that's good, because our giraffe are about to multiply, but we'll wait till the others come out of the thicket. This is the nicest view. Now, yesterday we were talking quite a bit about knobthorns and their flowers and various animals that pollinate them, and I'd mentioned that actually, well, the giraffes are pollinators, and that their diet consists normally of knobthorns and any of the other acacia species, but this one is not feeding off of an acacia at the moment. It is eating a bush willow. Is that delicious? Seems to be delicious. She's barely stopped to breathe since we've got here. Now, good morning, Nancy. I can't say Nancy. I have to tell you, Nancy, let me tell you a very quick story before I even answer your question. It's so funny. My car has got the name Nancy too, and it's one of my favorite names in the whole wide world. Look at this, Craig. Look at this youngster walking towards us. So your question is, how do I know it's female? So we'll get back to that one. Let me show you how to identify a giraffe that's not hiding behind the trees. Now, this is a young giraffe, so it's obviously mom and offspring. only a couple of years old. Now, just from looking at it, I can't see the little bump on the belly that normally indicates a male giraffe, but also it's walking at a strange angle, so it may reveal itself. Its ossicones look of normal size, but they do have very fluffy tips on them. You can see that. But that you can't use when a giraffe is this young, because even a young boy would have very fluffy ossicones. It's only once they get a little bit older. So I'm going to say that this is a female, just from the angle that we're looking at. So, what are they seeing? See, both mom and youngster just staring off into the distance. Now, because giraffe is so much taller than us and all the animals out here, it's important that we pay attention to what they're looking at, because they'll see things far away. They've got exceptional eyesight. Yes, it is a little girl. So, basically, isn't it? We just check. It's so difficult to see. No, I think it is. It is a girl. And Judy, you say you love their eyelashes. Me too. I think ostriches, giraffe, and southern ground hornbill, particularly, have the most beautiful eyelashes. And you can see that little red-billed oxpecker is getting too close for comfort there. And I love the way that they work their beaks. You see how they almost do a very like scissor-like motion through their hair. So they're not pulling off big ticks. They're actually going for the tick larvae. And the much smaller ticks, the pepper ticks, the ones that we hate the most on bushwalk, the ones that look like freckles on your skin. That's what they'll be going after. Whereas the yellow-billed hornbills, they tend to go for sort of the engorged ticks that you'll see around their nether regions, all those warm spots where ticks like to hang around. I'm very curious, this one too. So now staring off into the drainage line. Let me see what you're looking at. Are you looking at elephants, perhaps? Well, there's a couple of things in the distance that look like they could be elephants, but they could also just be termite mounds too. Now, Dave, you were wondering if any predators could take down a giraffe, and if so, which ones? Now, there aren't many things that would be brave enough to tackle the tallest creature in the world, but lions have adapted very special skills to catching giraffes. Now, I haven't actually seen too many lions in the Sabi Sand taking down giraffe, except the Charleston males, which were two boys that came from Londolozi side and then moved south, and then they traversed in the southern section, southwestern corner of the Sabi Sand, but I believe they've moved into Kruger. They've taken down a fully grown giraffe before, just the two of them. It's very dangerous though. So in Namibia, also the lions, they specialize in going after giraffe. The whole thing about a giraffe is that it's actually not a very difficult animal to take down if you know what you're doing. Now, of course, I wouldn't have any clue on how to capture a giraffe because I'm not, well, really worried about going after one. But lions have to learn this, and eventually they learn. If you chase a giraffe over an area that is sort of unlevel, and they trip and fall, they lose their footing and they slip, perfect moment to pounce, and they'll actually just jump onto their, well, towards their neck and pin them down like that, and then suffocate them. That's the best way. Otherwise, you have got to do a leap of faith, and you can imagine you get yourself in quite a bit of trouble. If you're waiting for a giraffe that's running towards you and you decide to jump into the air and try and grab it around the chest, you run the risk of being chopped with those very powerful front feet, and those hooves are quite sharp too. And then if you try and tackle a giraffe from the rear end, which is typically what lions like to do, is take on their prey, they'll try and jump on their backs. You've got those two very powerful hindquarters, and if you get kicked by a giraffe and you end up getting a hoof to the face, you can break your jaw, it can kill you instantly. You can suffer from internal bleeding. So it is a very, very dangerous decision to try, or for a lion to make, to go after a giraffe. The same thing goes for a buffalo. Lots of buffalo kill lions all the time. So I'm trying to think. I wonder if there are... You see, now I think there are elephants down here, but I don't think you'll be able to see them. Because the thing that I thought... No, it's still there. Never mind. I was going to say it's moved, but it hasn't moved. But yes, let me get another position of the giraffe. So it's just the two of them. Just scan down in this valley as we drive past. But even though something like a leopard is not necessarily anything for a giraffe to worry about, they do alarm at them. But a leopard wouldn't be able to take down a giraffe. It's too big. But if there's a giraffe carcass about, of course they would feed on it. They would not say no to that if there were no other predators around. I'm trying to think what else. Hyenas. Hyenas would harass young giraffe calves especially. They're particularly vulnerable. As with every other animal out here, when the female's given birth. Most of these animals, it's just incredible how quickly they can jump to their feet. However, it does take half an hour sometimes, maybe even a little bit longer, depending on the individual. And then anything could come through and really snatch up a young giraffe calf, even a young elephant calf, a hippo calf. So that's where you'll find the hyenas will come in and be a particularly big problem. I think this is such a beautiful sighting, don't you? Birds all chirping. Sound of the giraffe stripping the leaves from the tree. It's very pretty. My goodness, Donald, here's a question that I have absolutely no idea the answer to. That is, are giraffe related to camels with regards to their eyes? I've never been asked that before. So thank you, Donald. You've stumped me. I'm going to have to write it down in my notebook and do some research. So no, I'm actually not sure at all. Oh, you know what we can do is maybe that can be a job for Byron. Byron, what do you think about that? Maybe you can figure out, you can do a bit of searching on the interweb to see if giraffe are related to camels with regards to their eyes. I suppose that's the nice thing about the tent, is that we can bounce these questions off one another. Let me reposition for you just slightly, because that's actually very beautiful with the sun directly behind the giraffe. Now, it's not often that you can get a silhouette shot of a giraffe, especially so late in the morning, but let's go for it. You might get a two-headed silhouette too. Almost. Ah, yes! My favorite. And off they go. Now, they're very cautious. You see, they are out in the open at the moment. You can see they're very relaxed. They're quite happy because they can see around themselves 360 degrees. And there's no predators. But now, before they make their next move, which is going to be, by the looks of it, down into the valley below, so down into the drainage line that runs between Rebecca's and Quarantine and these areas, they have to scan. See that? She stopped, she had a look, she had a listen. She probably would have tried to have had a smell as well. And it doesn't seem as though there's anything in there, but she's going to just take it very slowly. I think the most important thing that animals teach us is patience and not to rush things. Because if you rush things and you get too excited and you move too quickly, you could have missed the sound of, say, a lion stepping on a leaf and it crunching, giving away its presence. And that's something that we are taught when we start walking, when you start doing trails. How important it is to use your other senses other than just your eyesight. Your hearing becomes a very important role when walking. And we sort of walk like the giraffe, or even like the impala. You take a couple of steps, you stop, you listen, have a little look around, and then you move on. And you can see, even though it might seem like, oh, they're not doing nothing now, they're just having a scan, you can see that she's chewing a big ball of grass. Not grass, why did I say grass? A big ball of leaves. Good goodness, Taylor. I think you need to go back into bed and then get out on the other side. Giraffe just eat leaves, by the way. Please remove that other comment that I just made. But they are ruminants, just as impala are ruminants too. So they'll constantly, when they're not feeding on the leaves, they will regurgitate cuds, they'll chew it, and then they'll swallow it again. And then she stopped, she found another tree. All feeding on bush willows today. That is her preferred breakfast, by the looks of it. But they'll eat all types of leaves, all the sweet leaves. And again, not staying and feeding on the same tree for too long. But bush willows don't seem to have the amount of tannins that the acacias, for example, have in them. So I think that they would be able to feed on a bush willow for a little bit longer without the leaves becoming too unpalatable. The grey-headed bushrike also calling. Lots of birds. But I think we'll move on from these giraffe, because once they take a couple more steps down to the north, they're going to disappear into some thick vegetation. So we'll go check Treehouse Dam, and hopefully we'll find something interesting down that way. I'm going to send you back across to Byron, who seems to have done a little bit of research about if camels and giraffe are related with regards to their eyes.
Now, I'm so happy that Taylor also found some giraffe. Yesterday we were lucky and we got to see some giraffe, and it's so funny. I hadn't seen giraffe for ages, and now all of a sudden they seem to be appearing everywhere, which is great. Now, there was a question about whether or not the camels are related to giraffe, or are giraffe related to camels. Well, technically they are. They are. So excuse me, but the giraffe and the camels fall under an order known as Perissodactyl. Now, that is basically a term that is given to Artiodactyls. I'm getting confused. They fall under Artiodactyl, which is even-toed ungulates. Now, the even-toed ungulates, obviously, so giraffe, the camels, horses also, no, horses got a hoof, zebra got a hoof, they fall under Perissodactyl, which is odd-toed ungulates. But the even-toed ungulates, like the giraffe and the camel, they've also ruminants, generally, so they've got a four-chambered stomach. We know we've spoken about that. So they are related. They fall under the even-toed ungulates. So they are. I'm not too sure in terms of the eyes or the eyelashes, but what I do know is the animals with these long eyelashes are often animals that need their eyes protected from dust and sand, so that would make sense. Animals like the camel, living in deserts, they've got those long eyelashes to protect their eyes, as well as some of the giraffe. However, the giraffe has those long eyelashes to also protect their eyes from the branches, because they constantly have their heads in the trees and they're feeding on vegetation and usually a lot of acacia trees or thorn trees. They've got to protect their eyes, so those long eyelashes will help protect their eyes from those thorns. So that's the giraffe and the camel. Now, we've got a few questions about the owls. We're sticking with the owl theme this morning for a while, and Donald, you asked, do all the owls have the ability to turn their heads right around? From my understanding, they do. So all the owls have the ability to, I won't demonstrate it, but they can do it. They can turn their heads around and they can have a look at what's around them. So Donald, yes, they can, and it's actually really interesting. Some of the larger owls, you see it quite clearly. They'll sit and they'll blink and then they'll turn their heads right around, almost 180 degrees around, to have a look at what's behind them. And then we also have a question from Michael Fleetwood. Michael, you asked, do you get any subspecies of barn owl in the greater Kruger? So not subspecies, we get the barn owl. It is the barn owl that I was showing you earlier, and that wonderful screech, or eerie screech rather, of the barn owl that we get. Very, very high-pitched screech and amazing sound that the barn owl makes, but we do get them in this area, yes. And then another question from Faisal Dawood. Faisal, you asked, what's the difference between the milky eagle owl and the giant eagle owl? Now, I'm not sure, Faisal, I'm not sure. I think, why don't I actually try and Google this quickly? You can stay with us for this. Now, my computer skills are amazing, obviously. Let's see. Okay, the milky eagle owl. I've never heard of the milky eagle owl, Faisal. Milky eagle owl, right. Let's see what this is. Also commonly known as the milky eagle owl or giant eagle owl. That's amazing. Faisal, I've never ever heard of the giant eagle owl being referred to as a milky eagle owl. I don't know where that comes from. I've never heard of it. And, I mean, I've been in the bush a long time. Now, I wonder where that term comes from. But, you see, that's interesting. I've never heard of the Verreaux's eagle owl being referred to as a milky eagle owl. So I don't know. It used to be the giant eagle owl, and then the name was changed to the Verreaux's eagle owl. But I don't believe I've ever heard of it being referred to as a milky eagle owl. Now, I'm not sure if that's a different part of Africa that they've used that term in, or where it comes from. I'll try and see if I can find out a little bit more about it, but it seems to be the same bird. But as I said, I've never ever heard of anyone referring to it as the milky eagle owl. Anyway, let's head back to Taylor, who I believe has found some elephant.
We have indeed. It's the same. Remember I was telling you about the footprints on the ground? I think it's the same footprints. Now, I'm going to get you into a much better position, Craig. Rexon was just here in the sighting with us. We literally only moved, I don't know, 100 meters from where those giraffe were. The dam is just behind us. And it's the boys. Looks like a little bachelor herd moving through here. Hello. Oh, please don't chase me today. I'm not in the mood. It's okay, relax. You're much bigger than me. Why are you behaving like that? You shouldn't be scared. Little old. I'm very young still. Of a young blonde girl. It seems as though the theme is going to be silhouettes. First thing this morning, hey Craig? That's beautiful though. And quite a young bull. He's not anywhere near being fully grown just yet. I can see 2 elephants. I suspect that there are a couple more though. They might just be feeding off into the distance really. It's so beautiful. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So we'll sit here for a little bit. Maybe they go down for a drink. I'm not so sure. Now this one, of course, is hiding behind the leaves. I think this is the same elephant bull we saw the other day. That was pushing around. It was Friday morning, yes. Friday sunrise safari. It was pushing around a couple of youngsters in a big herd of elephants that we'd found on Mvubu Road. Let me reposition for you, Craig. Let me get a better spot because that's not very nice. Let's see if we go forward, if we get a gap. I'll tell you now why I think that it's the same one. You know what they're doing? They're playing games with me. You're going to stop here. Watch, Craig. He's going to go back. We'll just go back to them. Now, elephants, please be nice. Can we stand in one spot or choose which tree you want to push over? I'm too scared to turn the car off because I know he's just going to keep moving. And the area that we're in now, it's a difficult one to try and get a good spot because there's lots of sort of pushed over trees from the years before. Okay, I think we're just going to have to stay with this. We'll just deal with this for now. Seeing as though these two are coming together. So I think there's a little bit of a difference in age here. The one on the right looks slightly younger than the one on the left. And Country Girl, you were wondering exactly that. What is the mature age for elephants? Well, it depends between females and males. Females mature slightly quicker than the boys. They can sort of start having their first calf. Sure. Again, it's very different from elephant to elephant. So, like us as humans. But anywhere from about 15 years old, I've heard elephant cows having calves as young as that. And then the boys, that's normally the age that they're being pushed out of the herds because they can become quite excited. But an elephant bull is typically only fully grown, and they still keep growing. Can you believe their tusks are always growing? At around 30 years old, 35 years old, they're in the prime of their life. So these boys are nowhere near that though. I reckon they're in their 20s, probably their mid-20s. Maybe even pushing their late 20s. So they've still got a bit of growing to do. They're quite tall, but they haven't filled out just yet. Now, Craig, I think I'm going to have to help you move again because look at all the trees. Like I said, might not be the clearest. We might not be able to go in here. Please go into reverse. Use the strength to get the car to go in reverse. It's wonderful. Let's reverse. Back here. Try this gap and hopefully they'll feed you for a little bit. We don't have to keep moving. The one elephant on the right, the reason why I think we've seen him before is just the shape of his tusks. Beautiful. Sort of almost exactly the same length. Which is actually quite unusual. You don't often get to see elephants that have got sort of such beautiful ivory like this and the same length. Normally one tusk will be longer than the other. Look at this busybody. He is a busybody. See, we saw him doing this with the young elephants, and now he's doing it to his friend as well. And you may have been able to see a bird fluttering around there. That is a fork-tailed drongo that is trying to catch all the insects. And he'll be very happy that the elephants are kicking around in the grass and pulling the trees over because it will disturb anything that is resting up on those branches. So you're going to get some great meals, and we see lots of symbiosis between the various animals out here. I can't believe that. He's got all the bush swallows in the world to eat. This must be the trend today. Again, it's exactly the same tree as... no, this is the variable bush swallow. The one the giraffe was feeding on was a large fruited bush swallow. This is so small, slightly smaller leaf. He's got all of them to feed on, and he has to push his friend out of the way and eat off of the same branches. It's a bit rude, don't you think? Now, if you have just joined us, remember, this is live, this is interactive, and you can ask us questions. You can ask me questions, you can ask Byron questions, and we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Now, I want you guys to quickly listen to this amazing call that's coming from my left. Can you hear it? Isn't that such a cool sound? They'll eventually fly towards these elephants, I suspect. But it is white-crested helmet shrikes. They've got the most amazing gurgly call. It's really beautiful. And it's going to get louder and louder because they're slowly jumping around in this direction. But they don't really do the same thing as fork-tailed drongos. They don't necessarily live around the animals and collect insects that are being disturbed. Trish, you're wondering how much does an elephant weigh? A lot is how much an elephant weighs. A big elephant bull can weigh up to 5.5 tons, so 5,500 kilograms. It's massive, absolutely massive. But those are real big boys. Typically cows are around 4 tons or so, for 4,000 kilograms, somewhere around there. But again, every elephant is different. Sometimes they don't necessarily get to that size. They can be much smaller than that. We see many, unfortunately, and it makes me sad to say this, but it is the reality. We do see a lot of elephants with snare damage to their trunks in the Sabi sand and even in the Kruger National Park. And I have noticed that that has limited the size of an elephant just because they are unable to eat as much food as they are required. Can I draw your attention away quickly, Craig? Because these white-crested helmet shrikes have landed here now. They obviously can hear my voice, but they never hang around for too long, and I thought that this is just such a beautiful little sighting of them. I said they were going to feed right here. Look at them. So now you can put the sound of the bird that I made you listen to, and this is what it actually looks like. Look at them. Have you ever seen them sitting so still in your entire life? That's amazing. There's a whole lot. There must be about 10, maybe even more, maybe 15. Look at them. They're just here. One's right in front of the car. Look at all those ones there. I think this is the closest I've ever been to white-crested helmet shrikes. Now, when you try and drive up to them, unfortunately, they always fly away. But they're obviously quite happy coming straight towards me. And that's the beauty of going on a safari, is that if you sit in a sighting for long enough, the birds will move around you. So you can be looking at Africa's grey giants, but then you can also have a look at some of the smaller things that also move around in between all the animals. Isn't that great sighting? I thought that was very, very special. Very lucky. Didn't think that we were going to have a look at them. Now we're back to silhouetted elephants again. You'll listen, you'll hear those birds chatting away. They're so vocal. Now, obviously, elephants are quite vocal too, but we aren't able to hear all the ways that they like to communicate. The most common sounds of communication with elephants are that deep stomach rumble, that... And then, of course, a trumpet, which is normally a distress call of some kind, unless you're an excited little elephant and you're trying to act all big and scary. Then they like to trumpet too, but we laugh normally when they do that to us. And the rest of their communication is actually done through infrasound, so very low frequencies that unfortunately we aren't able to hear, but those sounds can travel very, very far. Hello, yes. Don't start. I don't like elephant bulls coming over and trying to intimidate me, so you will see, this is my preference, of course. Stop it. That's unnecessary. I've been sitting here the entire time and you did not show that you are unhappy with me once, and now you've changed your mind because you are a moody elephant bull who can't get his way because you're not the greatest tusker that has roamed the greater Kruger National Park, now are you? Exactly. You keep walking. Off he goes. Let me turn around quickly and we'll go back and have a look at that cheeky fella. So Isn't that funny? Oh, that was so great. Right, so that was, of course, that was just me telling him no, because he was walking over to the car quite quickly, and now what the elephant bulls would typically do is they'd walk right up to the vehicle and stand over you. I don't like that, and I don't think it's necessary that elephants do that, so I don't tolerate it. So I either raise my voice, or you may have heard me, I just tapped the side of my car, and then he went, okay, that's fine, you win, I won't come on over there. I'm obviously not going to intimidate you, but we'll do a bit of repositioning. I think they might be heading down towards Treehouse Dam for a drink. Wouldn't that be a treat? But let's go back across to Byron. He's still in the tent, he hasn't left it, and he's going to show you some bones.
I am indeed, Taylor. Not leaving the tent, very comfy this morning now. And Alana, you asked what are these, the large bones behind us on the shelf. So it's actually perfect timing because Taylor found those elephant. And these, here's a big one. Let me move my trusty coffee flask. Now have a look here. This big one at the bottom, that is the elephant bone. That is one of the leg bones of an elephant, very, very large. And there's also one up here. There's another big one up here. And Alana, I think this is what you were looking at. The big bones up at the top here. Those are from elephant. So just to give you an idea, those leg bones, they are massive. I mean, if I stand here, let's have a look. If I stand, and you can see, look how large this bone is. Zoom out a little bit more. There you can see it. Look at that. See, and then I'm now staring the wildebeest in the face. Wildebeest skull. So there are a lot of interesting skulls around here. And I know James enjoys speaking about the skulls a lot. Now, I saw there were some questions about... Let me just double check here quickly. Sorry, there was some questions about just the skulls. Stanley and Mike... What is the human skull at the back here? There is no human skull at the back here. Now, I don't know which one. There's some... this little one over here is possibly what you're looking at. That's a little monkey skull. Maybe that is the one that you were referring to. That does look human-like. Obviously, it's because it's a monkey. So, a primate. And that's the closest one that looks... I mean... Looks a little bit like James, though, doesn't it? Oh, good morning. My name is James, and I'm in the Mara. Oh dear, James is going to shout at me, probably, everyone. So don't tell him I did that. I miss old James. It's looking forward to his return when he does come back to I was going to say when he comes back to Safari Live. When he comes back to Djuma, I'm not sure when that will be. He's having a lot of fun up in the Mara at the moment. The whole team is working very, very hard. But I do look forward to his return or bumping into him again for some apple juice, perhaps. Now, I'm going to... Actually, before I do that, let's go outside for a second. And why I'm doing that is I heard some of those wonderful ground hornbills. I'm just trying to hear if I can hear them again. They've stopped, but there were ground hornbills calling close by. Maybe we get a glimpse of them from the tent. That would be wonderful. Let's head back to Taylor, though, who's still got those elephant.
We are still with our elephants. And they are, well, I don't really know what their plan is this morning because they're up and down. And that the bigger bull of the two, not this one, but his friend, came over and pushed him around. It was really funny. So I think he is obviously a little bit on the frustrated side just in general. And he's just taking his frustrations out on anybody that, well, appears to show any interest. Now, it's if you can remember the Friday morning, I'm trying to get another view. I don't know where they're going to go now. We'll stop here. It's a very obscured view, I'm afraid. So, what I was going to say is that the elephant bull that had the nice ivory, you can't see him at the moment, he was standing right next to our car on Friday morning. He was lifting up trees and moving them out of the way to eat the nice green grass. So it just shows you how even the animals can have bad days. And I'm sure he's going to come over and try and give us a bit of trouble again at some point. But hopefully he will settle down. Now, I did just get some news from Rex, and he was saying that There are male and female leopard tracks around here. They come towards Treehouse Dam to have a drink, and then they don't come out of any of these blocks. So we think that they're somewhere in here. I don't know whose footprints they are, but that'll be something on the cards too. So I'm also listening out for growling. Maybe it's a mating pair. Perhaps it's Tundi and Tamba. Maybe it's Shongile or Hosana. There's so many different possibilities as to which leopards could be moving around here. It's actually, we can't say it's the favorite spot of any leopard, because at one point this used to be Karula's favorite spot with her youngsters, and so was Twin Dams, so was Shibamu Road, and then we know Shadow likes Shibamu Road too. Tandi and Tumba have been seen moving around here, so the possibility is honestly endless. Boys, where are you going? Are you going to race down towards Treehouse Dam now? Please do. And then can you go through this middle block though, so you can flush the leopards out that are hopefully still around here. He's now playing hide and seek. I can still see you behind that tree. You're not invisible, even though your skin sort of looks like a tree trunk. Yes. I actually don't know where they're going. They keep changing direction. They come straight south, and then they turn and they go completely east again. Look at that fellow over there. He's going in the complete opposite direction now. I wonder, I think Rexon is going to go on a bundu bashing experience. See, he also doesn't want to do too much walking around here with the elephants. Bulls are fine, but if there's a breeding herd that these two are tailing, we don't want to get stuck in between the two. That won't be very fun at all. So funny. This one's quite nice. He's actually out in the open. Now, Kerpel, you're wondering if elephants cry. I've never seen a crying elephant. However, I have seen an elephant with watery eyes before, but I'm not able to communicate with them, so I can't ask them if they're sad, if it's, sad tears, happy tears, but I'm not sure if they cry in the sense like we as humans cry. You can imagine moving around in all of this vegetation and stuff like that. It can cause quite... Sorry, I need to have a fight with the gear lever. Why won't you just go into reverse? Please, Rusty. I hate this argument every single day. There we go. Just use my force. It's not supposed to do that, as you can imagine. Typically the gears are supposed to go in quite easily. Not on this car. Fight them. Right. So what I was going to say, sorry, is that with all the dust and things that can get into an elephant's eye, they obviously have got long, thick eyelashes to try and protect them from exactly those things. That doesn't always work. And just as you and I, when we get something in our eye, a natural response is for it to start watering. So I think that happens. It's a beautiful view of this elephant right here. It's just feeding on a little mound. But it's difficult to say if an elephant cries or not. Until we can actually have conversations where both parties can understand, we just have to start guessing and putting theories across. Finally, no, I was about to say finally the blacksmith lapwings have settled down, but they haven't. That's that noise that you can also hear in the background. And they were not impressed with Rexon and James walking around. Obviously they've got young chicks at the dam, so they definitely be on high alert, but they'll stop now because they've moved off. And of course we're not interested in them either, so we do keep away. Isn't that lovely? Just feeding on a very small termite mound. Doesn't actually look like much at all. It's all covered in grass. It's actually just nice to sometimes sit and just listen, isn't it? Oh yes, I didn't think that the two elephants were going to split up. And it seems as though this young fella over here, he's quite happy feeding in this direction. The other bull, I think he's going to make a turn and come back around here, which means that we'll be in his fiery line once again. So perhaps that will be our entertainment for this morning. To try and get that elephant bull, the bigger one, to settle down with us. Because he was with us the other day when we had that amazing herd, and he was standing right next to the car, only a couple of meters away, and he wasn't bothered by us at all. So hopefully we can get that same sort of behavior out of him, instead of trying to intimidate me all the time. Maybe he smelt the leopards. Maybe that's why he's a little bit sort of unnerved and behaving like that. That could definitely be a possibility. Yeah, elephant, you're not going to be eating grass for too much longer, are you? There's not much left. Jan Eric, good question from you this morning, and it is, are the female elephants picky when it comes to mating? Oh yes, most certainly. They are not interested in mating with bulls of this size because they know that there are elephants probably almost twice the size of them in terms of, not maybe necessarily height, but width. Like I said, they're still relatively narrow, haven't put on all their muscle, filled out just yet. So the females want to mate with the biggest and the strongest male in the area for the best potential genes for their youngsters. As you can imagine, it's like that with nature all the way around. So, oh, look at him. He's going to lift up these trees now to try and get some nice green grass. Look how easy he does that. And that's a prickly tree too. It looks like maybe a buffalo thorn. It doesn't have any leaves on, so it's quite difficult to tell. That's amazing. Going very clever. I love this. I always tell you how this is some of my favorite behavior. So he's not just using his trunk to lift that, he's also using his tusks to also help leverage it. See, he's holding it now. No, you didn't push it far enough. It's just going to fall back into your face again. Come on, push it further. Or did you not find what you were looking for? No, his trunk is working. It sounds like it's pulling up grass. Yes, you might have heard that crunch. It doesn't look any better, actually, than the grass that's growing everywhere else. So it's not protected by the sun. Henrique, now you're wondering if elephants have bacteria in their stomachs to help digest grass just like cows do. I'm sure they do. Whether the amount is the same as cows, I'm not too certain. But remember, elephants don't just eat grass. They eat a number of different things. They eat roots, they eat bark, they eat leaves, they eat the grass, of course. And so I think, depending on the season, because that also depicts the diet of an elephant, when we have lots of rain in the summer months and we have lots of lush grass, the elephants are almost predominantly feeding on grass. They are mainly grazers. However, in the dry season, everything is not so great. Look here, look. You see his behavior's changed because his mate is coming over at a speed again. Oh, he's going to come back here. I'm going to have to shout at this elephant. I know he's looking for trouble today. So I think at different times of the year they'll have certain bacteria to digest the particular vegetation types that they're eating at that time. But their diet is so varied, they don't have a good digestive system like a cow does, which is a ruminant. They have... they're only digesting about 40% of their food. Look at him. He is such a bully, this elephant. He really is. He's now chased his friend away because once again, he came towards him at a very aggressive pace, sort of moving very, very quickly and with quite a big sort of swag in his step. And he said, right, now I'm going to feed you. You move away. You go feed somewhere else. He's done it to him the entire morning. You know what? You don't need that kind of friend. I promise you, there are better elephants out there. But we'll watch them. They're going to go going down to the dam now. But of course, look who's following. Yeah, don't even try and give me nonsense. I've warned everyone about you, and you're just making yourself look bad. But it's important, of course, that elephants bully. I don't think there's really any such thing as bullying out in nature. It's important to assert your dominance. Let's go forward. And that's exactly what he's doing. Is because he's bigger than his friend to the right. Well, I don't know if they're really friends. He's, making sure that if there was an opportunity to mate with a female, which they wouldn't have though, they're still too young, he'll basically say, I'm having it, it's not yours. I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you. There's the leopard. Leopard. Hang on. Rex, I've got the ingwe here. That's so cool. No, I'm sorry. I'm having a good laugh because I don't know what's around. Rexon was right here. Rexon was walking around. Hang on, I'm going to let Rex take control of the sighting. He's fine. That is so funny. James and Rexon were walking out on foot. Now you can see why it was almost impossible to see this leopard. Look where it's laying, between a log and a small tree. completely invisible. That was fantastic. That is why I love the bush so much. And that leopard did not get up once to move. It has obviously been watching. I don't know who it is just yet. I'll tell you now. It's also slightly concerned with the elephants, so it's going to try and hide away from the elephants. I'm wondering, Craig, what do you think? I wonder if our view is actually not going to be better on that side because we can zoom in, hey? Or let's see. I think it could be Shongile. I'm just trying to think. Or Hosana. Or Tamba. It's a young leopard. That's what I've got for you now. Can we have a closer look, Craig, so I can just look at his face very quickly? And then I'll be able to tell you. Okay, well, it doesn't look like it's Hosana because there's no nick. I didn't see a nick on the left ear, which is a telltale sign. I need to get a better view because I can't really see. How's that, Craig? Can we have a... Sorry, I need to use the camera to actually have a closer look to see exactly who it is. No, it is Hosana. My bad. I can see the nick in his ear now. You can see on the top left and also those very golden eyes. Yes. Hello, young man. So now, that's very interesting. So we've got Hosana. There was now also a female leopard tracks around here, so I wonder if Shongile is not in the area too. And he's hiding away from the elephants. I'm sorry that we're not going to... What do you think, Craig? There's elephants. It's a very awkward position that we've got ourselves in because the elephants are now drinking on the other side. Our friend who's the big elephant, he's had his drink. He's not interested now. You can just see the splashes of water. But Hosana's probably not going to move. He's probably going to just wait here until those elephants move out of the way. We would never have seen him. If we were not with these elephants, we would not have seen this leopard. And if it wasn't for the elephants coming down here and making such a noise, he wouldn't have got up to see what was actually going on. That was so great. Hey, James. That's so funny. We're having a good laugh. And this is what I love so much about. It doesn't matter how close you are. Those tracks will be so fresh. But if they're lying in an area in long grass between, like we've got here, a log and a shrub, you will not see him. I was staring at that log the entire time and I had no idea that was a leopard there until he stood up. That is so funny. Well, that's great for everybody. Yeah, it doesn't matter who finds the animal in the end. We knew it was here. I think the stars of the show for finding us this beautiful cat have to be the elephants. So thank you, elephants. Thank you for being as rowdy as what you are, making noise and picking up trees. Because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have seen this beautiful creature. Now, you can see those elephants just in the corner. They're moving off now. They didn't stop to have a swim. They had a quick drink of water. And now they're going to carry on feeding for the rest of the day, I presume. Maybe stopping for the odd siesta under a maruda tree. This is funny. Now, I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. What our best positioning is going to be. We're obviously in a very awkward spot. We're on a very steep embankment. And I'd love to go and park in the dam for you, just to leave Rusty to rust away in the water too. But I wonder, I know what will happen if I go around onto the other side of the dam. You see, we're lucky we've got a camera so we can zoom all the way in. He'll probably put his head behind the log and then we won't be able to see him. So we'll just be patient for the moment and then decide what we'll do in a second. Ah, that is so great. Woohoo! I'm so excited. Hey, so you know what? If we didn't stop at those giraffe and spend some time with them, and if we didn't stay with the elephants for as long as we did this morning, we wouldn't have this cat. Isn't that great? So thank you to nature for making us stop, making us be patient. Again, like I said, I think that's our life lesson that we're always learning from the animals. Is patience. Craig, I know if I move, he's going to move into an awkward spot and he'll just have to come back again.
I don't think there is a
No, if we were on the other side of the dam, we could see his face nicely because we could just zoom in, but by the time we get around there, he'll get up and move. But this is really nice. He's obviously been quite busy, I can imagine, throughout the night, walking around. I haven't seen many male leopard tracks, so I don't know where he's come from. I actually don't know where Hosana has been for the last few days, to be honest. When did I last see him? I last saw him ages ago, like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Maybe even, yeah, about 2 weeks ago. and then that's really been it. No, Craig, was the sighting that we had of him, I don't know if I was with you. I can't remember if it was up in the tree when he had the sticks pried below him.
No, it wasn't.
It was with Sebastian. I'm trying to remember. Well, I've seen him twice this cycle. That's all I know. Once just very quickly coming out of the Mulwati, and then the other one with Sebastian was when he was up in the tree, looking petrified. He doesn't look as petrified anymore. He looks much more relaxed. Well, I suppose that's because he doesn't have any lions down on the ground below him. How's that? Using that log to his advantage, just to rest his head on. You don't look very comfortable. You're sort of sitting, half sitting, standing position. Now, I would love it if we could have some impala come down and drink at the dam. Wouldn't that be great? Hello, Paul. Now, you're wondering how old is this male leopard that we've got sitting here? Well, Hosana must be about just over a year and a half now. Yeah, February, March, April, May, June, July. Almost a year and a half. Just slightly less. You're going to go back to sleep again, yes. I don't know if we'll see much action from him today. Like I said, he's obviously been very, very busy. He must be quite tired now. Megan, are there any other names you'd like to run through this morning? That was so funny. I have to tell you, Megan was saying to me, because obviously we are prompted when we need to go across to the different feeds, but she's reminded me just of my mom, when my mom tries to shout at me when I go home. It was really funny. She goes, when you're ready, you can link to Byron in the tent. That sounds like my mom when I've done something wrong. She's trying to get to me. She'll go, Rod, Ryan, Sean, Taylor. I'm always the last one now because I don't live at home. Anyways, well, as Megan said we're going to do, we're not going to go over to Tristan. You're sitting with me. We're going to go across to Byron. It seems as though he's found something to put under the microscope.
Taylor, firstly, I'm just so excited and so happy that you got to find that young leopard. That is so lucky and awesome, and I'm sure Rexon and his guests are also going to enjoy that sighting. So elephant and leopard together, isn't that amazing, at the dam? We drove past there yesterday, we checked all the dams, we didn't have any luck, but thankfully Taylor has got that leopard. Now we've got something interesting. Essentia and I are playing around in the tent trying to find something interesting to show you on the microscope. Now I've got something interesting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this out to our viewers, and I'd like you to have a guess at what you think this might be. So have a look at that for a while, and then hashtag Safari Live, and send your answers. What do you think this is that I have under the microscope? Have a look very closely for a while, and then send us your comments, and we'll get back to that shortly. Alright, so just look at that. I'll give you some clues. Look like some veins and that on there. But anyway, have a look, have a think, and let me know what you think it might be. Now, I'm just going to get back to some questions quickly, or just some comments. Debbie, you were just asking, is the tent up year-round? It is indeed. So this tent is set up here. It's always around, just in case we need the tent, in case it's raining. Now in the winter, luckily it's not too bad. We don't have much rain, but the tent is always set up, and especially at the moment with Senzo's arriving back today, so we'll have another cameraman. I'm not sure about this afternoon yet, if we're going to have a tent and a drive, or if we're going to have two drives. We'll see, and we'll let you know, obviously, a little bit later. Alright, okay, so we are actually having tent this afternoon, so Taylor will be back in the tent this afternoon, and I will be driving around. Alright, James, getting back to the owl, or our owl subject this morning, James, you asked, what is the most widespread owl throughout South Africa or Southern Africa? Now, James, there are two that are very common through most parts of South Africa, actually just about the whole of South Africa. And the one is the barn owl, which we spoke about, that high-pitched screech of the barn owl. The barn owl is one. The other one is, of course, The spotted eagle owl, that is the other one that is found through most of South Africa, just about the whole of South Africa. Now, I know that why I say these owls are so amazing, and the spotted eagle owl is one of my favorite. Even at my home in Johannesburg, we see these owls and hear them constantly. Most nights can hear the owls calling. So there are, even in the cities, you can find these owls if you look very carefully or you listen out. And I've been driving home at times late at night and seen these spotted eagle owls sitting on the side of the road on the telephone poles, or even on the ground looking for little rodents. So it's amazing to see those spotted eagle owls around, and they are just about everywhere. Let me just try to show you a picture of one quickly.